Hey everyone, so in today's video I'm really excited to tell you about my recent trip to Japan with EF Ultimate Break. And I got back about a week and a half ago, so I wanted to sit down and share my experience. And if you guys are interested in booking a trip for yourself, I do have a discount code for you to get $100 off your first trip by using the link down below. So if you book your trip through the link, it'll automatically apply the $100 off at checkout. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so Japan has been on my list for a really long time. This trip I did go solo, so it was my first time going solo to Asia. I have gone solo a few times now to some European countries, but it was my first time going over to Asia and I was so excited for this trip. When I first arrived after my long travel journey, we met with everyone at the airport and went straight to our hotel, and I went to sleep because I believe Japan is about 14 hours ahead, and I was so exhausted. I had woken up to at 4 a.m. for my flight. As soon as we got to the hotel, went straight to bed, and I also got lucky because I ended up getting a single instead of having a roommate when I didn't upgrade for the first and last city of the trip, so that was actually really nice. So it was time to get some good rest. When we woke up, we had breakfast, and at all the hotels have the breakfast, but this was the first time where we stayed where you had to walk around the corner. It was like a separate location where we had our breakfast, but it was literally like a 1-minute walk, very close. And it was so good. Here's what we had for breakfast. There was like 3 different choices you can have, and it was so good. And after that, I was so excited to go to 7-Eleven. I always hear about the Japanese 7-Elevens, and I was very excited to try some treats. So after breakfast, I walked to 7-Eleven and I tried a few treats. And this creme brulee ice cream I still think about. It was so good. I even made a whole TikTok video about all the things that I tried. So definitely check that out if you're interested in anything else I tried. So we started off our guided tour by going to a few temples and shrines. It was so beautiful, and after our guided tour we got to walk around for a bit on our own. Also did some fortune telling, and our tour guide helped me with it, and my fortune was a bad fortune. So what you're supposed to do if you get a fortune that's bad luck, and you tie it and it's essentially you're not taking that bad luck with you, you're leaving it there. So that was cool to try and do. So just exploring and walking around for a bit was very beautiful. It was cool to see everything. Then we took a bus and visited some other shrines and temples. This one had a lot less people, which was nice. But again, just very beautiful to see all of the shrines and temples. The architecture was so beautiful. And I just like couldn't believe that like I was in Japan. There was like so many pinch me moments, and it was beautiful. And so after we did that, we went to Harajuku. So that's how we spent our morning in our first day in Tokyo, which I don't even think I mentioned, but we first started our trip in Tokyo. And also this trip I did the Japan, Tokyo, and beyond trip, so we got to go to 3 different cities. But after we went to Harajuku, we started off by having lunch, and our tour director recommended some food that we could get, and she recommended this ramen spot, so we got ramen, and it was so delicious. Very good ramen. That was like my second Japanese meal that I'd had, and I was just like, right now I'm eating ramen in Harajuku. Like, this is like so insane. It was so cool though to experience that. And Harajuku is really fun because they have a lot of different pet cafes that you can do. Dog cafes, cat cafes. And so I went to a puppy cafe, and it was so much fun to do. You got to just hang out with these puppies, hang out there. So I spent my time doing that. I walked around some shops a bit, but I spent most of my time honestly with those puppies. It was just so fun. And then also our tour director also recommended some crepes to get, and I got a crepe in Harajuku, and it was literally the best crepe ever. It was so good. So tried a lot of good treats there. And before heading to our dinner location, we went to another spot, I believe it was Shinjuku, and that had a huge large store of different shops and stores. So we walked through that, and it was so beautiful to see at night too. Oh my gosh, all the lights. It was so beautiful to see Tokyo like that, and go shopping a bit, and then we headed off to dinner, which dinner was also very delicious. So overall, it was a very good first day in Tokyo. It was a jam-packed day, so I was exhausted, and after dinner went straight to bed, but it was a really fun day as our first day in Tokyo. Then the next morning, to start off our second day in Tokyo, normally the second day was a free day, but our tour director gave us some options to do some tours with her where she would lead us on to some places. So I did do a lot of those with our tour director. So in the morning after breakfast, I decided to have breakfast by trying a lot of the 7-Eleven treats. So I went there in the morning and got some other treats that I really wanted to try, picked those up, and then we started off our day. So we started off our day by going to Tokyo Tower. And this was such a cool thing to do, seeing Tokyo from that high up, and like those views were insane. It was so cool. And also, who knew? I didn't know that Tokyo had like incredible ice cream, but the ice cream there is next level. Like, oh my gosh, I had so much ice cream in Tokyo, and we got an ice cream at Tokyo Tower too, and it was seriously my favorite ice cream that I had. It was so good. So we hung out up there for a bit and in Tokyo Tower, and then afterwards walked to a fish market and had lunch, and we got some really good sushi that our tour director recommended. It just was insane. Like, again, this was like another pinch me moment. I'm like, I'm literally having sushi in Japan right now. Like, this is so cool. We had sushi there. It was phenomenal. And then I got to try some strawberry candy. That was also really good. And just walked around the market for a bit. Then one of my favorite things that we got to do in Tokyo was go to Team Lab, which is like an interactive art museum experience where you're like a part of the art. Oh my gosh, you guys, that was insane. We got to go into so many different rooms. There was like a room where the water literally went up to your knees, and then there was a room with all of these beautiful sparkling lights. Just so many beautiful rooms that you could walk into. This experience seriously was one of my favorite things that we got to do in Tokyo. So we did that. And then at night we went to Shibuya Crossing, and that's like the iconic Times Square of Japan is, where you see everyone crossing that intersection. So that was cool, but it was so packed. Like, there was so many people when we went there, and it just seems like it's always like that. We asked, like, is it always this packed? And our tour director was like, yeah, it's like always like this. There were so many people, but we were there. We got to see some people doing the Mario Karts, and then we went to the Nintendo and Pokemon store, walked around there for a bit, and then I was like, what do I want for dinner? And I was like, I would love to try some Japanese McDonald's. Every country I go to, I always have to have the McDonald's. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have the McDonald's. It was really good. I had the macaron too. So good. I ended up having it twice during that trip. I was like, I need to find those McDonald's macarons. They were delicious. But yeah, that was very fun. And that's how we ended our second day in Tokyo. Then the next day we were on our way to Kyoto. All right, so before going to Kyoto, we made our stop in Hakone. There we took a cable car up, and we got to see a crater. And some people, I don't know if anyone tried the black eggs that they had there. I didn't, but after we were up there, we took a lake cruise, and unfortunately we did not see Mount Fuji. It was extremely foggy, so we didn't have any sightings there, but it was so nice to be on the lake cruise, very relaxed. It was so nice, and got to see some torii gates. And then after that, we continued our drive to take our bullet train to Kyoto. So when we arrived to Kyoto, we went straight to our hotel, and we had, luckily, it was actually so nice because our dinner was at the restaurant, so that was really nice because we didn't have to go anywhere, especially because all of us were exhausted from having another full travel day, it felt like. And the hotel was like a Thai inspired, so the food was actually so good too. That was another really good meal that we had. And it was great because some people had drinks at the bar too, and then you just got to go up to your hotel. So that was really nice. And so we started off again by getting to see a lot of temples in Kyoto. Just so beautiful, like, and then the views on top too with the temples and then the city, it was stunning. It was so nice to see. And then we got to walk around for a bit, and then after we hung around there, then we went to another temple, and this was like the Golden Temple, and it was like nestled into like a garden. So this was so beautiful and stunning. Like, I could not believe my eyes seeing the Golden Temple. It was gorgeous. And then we got to just walk around after, had some matcha ice cream because Kyoto is like very famous for their matcha, and I'm not a fan of matcha, but I did try the matcha ice cream, and it was 10 out of 10, very delicious. So we got to do that. And then for lunch, we actually went to a mall for lunch, and so we got to go to, and just being there at the mall with all these food court options in Japan, it was so cool. We ended up going with KFC. We're like, okay, well, let's try Japanese KFC, because we learned that for Christmas, a lot of Japanese have KFC on Christmas. Our tour director said that they were told that a lot of Japanese were told that that's what Americans have on Christmas, so that's what they started having for Christmas. So it was actually very interesting to learn, and we had some KFC, pretty good. And then we got to see the torii gates, and oh my goodness, it was stunning and so gorgeous. There was so many people, and luckily a lot of us were trying to get our pictures with like no one in the back, and was trying to get their photos without getting anyone in the back. But that was so beautiful, and we didn't go all the way up, but you can hike even higher up. So afterwards we got to go back, and I think we had about an hour before we went to the geisha district. So we got to go to a geisha district too at night, and we ended up getting to spot a geisha. So cool to see, because our tour director said that if we might get lucky and see one in the flesh, because when they first come out, they're not allowed to take any pictures. But if they're on the main road, because there'll be signs everywhere you're not allowed to take pictures, but on the main road, she told us that that's not the road that's considered private. So if they are walking on that road, you're allowed to take a picture. So she was like, take pictures as soon as she got on the main road, and we snagged our photos. It was so cool just to see that. And then we had dinner, and it was fantastic. I think most of us had dinner together, and it was a very fun experience. And we had meat sushi, a lot of like barbecue that we got to have, desserts. And that's how we ended our first full day in Kyoto. Another packed day. All right, our second day in Kyoto, another free day. But what I loved about these trips, our tour director had other activities planned for the free day. So if we didn't know what to do or didn't feel comfortable navigating ourselves, had things organized, which was really nice, because a lot of times I had no idea of like what I even wanted to see. It was nice because she gave a guide of like seeing a lot of really cool highlights that I didn't even know of. So she took some people to the fish market, and then me and a few people did the kimono rental. So in Kyoto, it's full of kimono rentals, and this was one of my favorite things that we got to do. We got to pick out our design, pick out our hairstyle, and just really have this full cool experience. The way that they did the kimono, I was like, this is so insane. There's so many layers, and it was just like the way that they did it and how they like put it on. It was so cool to experience their culture and just feel so beautiful. Like I felt so beautiful in that kimono, and we got to take pictures, and you also got to pick your accessories. You got your shoes, you did the full thing, and you got to rent that for like the entire day. But we only rented it for a couple hours just because it was really hot. But luckily at the location that we did the kimono rental, it was right where all the temples are where we went to the first day. So we just walked up there, got our photos. It was so much fun, and there was a bunch of other people in their kimonos, and it was just a really cool experience, and definitely recommend. And they were all so sweet. The Japanese, all of them were incredibly sweet. It was very nice. So yeah, we got to do that, and then afterwards we went back, and then we met our tour director for going to the bamboo forest. So the bamboo forest was so beautiful. We got to walk through the forest of the bamboo, and we did take a train there, so she helped navigate for us. So we went there, we got some lunch, we got some ice cream, and for lunch we got udon noodle soup, and it was one of my favorite meals that we had. That's one thing I learned, is also a lot of Japanese, they don't have a lot of spicy foods. And she said that they were like they're one of the only Asian countries that don't really love spice. And that was really interesting to me. So I am someone who loves spicy food, so the spicy noodle soup on the menu. So I was like definitely getting that, because I've been craving some spicy food, and it was so delicious. Love that, and had some honey ice cream. It was just a beautiful afternoon. And then after, went back to the hotel, rested for a couple hours, and then for dinner we got sushi, and that was really good as well. I think we went back, I think on our way back to the hotel too, and me and my friend, we stopped again at 7-Eleven, got some ice cream for dessert, headed back to the hotel, went to bed, and it was a really good day. One of my favorite days too. Then we started our next day on our way to our last city of the trip, which was Osaka. But before going to Osaka, we stopped in Nara and we got to see another temple and got to see a big Buddha and also see a bunch of deer all over Nara. Nara, there are deers everywhere and they sell like crackers for you to feed the deer. Did not want to do that because I saw how they could get a little aggressive for those crackers, so I just watched. But it was cool to see all the deer everywhere. We all had lunch together and that was a really good meal as well. All the meals I had were so good. I had really good food there, so delicious. And then after that we continued our journey to Osaka. So we finally made it to Osaka. I think I napped like the bus ride there, but we made it to Osaka. We went to Osaka Castle. Some people went in, some of us stayed out, and then we had to get ice cream again because the ice cream there, like I said, is so good. For the castle, we made it to our hotel. So this was like the best hotel we had stayed in, and she had even like hyped it up too. She was like, you guys are gonna really like this hotel. And like I told you guys, I got lucky somehow getting my own room again, so that was really nice. Went to the hotel, rested a bit, and then we went to dinner, and it was our farewell dinner, had dinner, and I think this was my favorite meal we had. And I don't remember what it was called, but it was so good, and it was kind of like this eggy dish, and you got to cook it yourself on the skillet, and walked around the city center for a bit, and then ended our night, and then the next day traveled home. So we did have breakfast at the hotel and then flew back home. Took almost a full 24 hours to get back, so I was so exhausted. But overall, it was an incredible trip. I'm so glad I did it. And just the more I've been traveling solo, like I'm just have really been enjoying it. And now it's like, for sure, like before I used to be like nervous about it, and now that I've gone on, this is my 4th solo international trip, and I've just had such great experiences at all of them and have met so many incredible people on my trips. So I highly recommend it. Like if you're nervous for going solo, I recommend it. But I also have friends that have come with me too. I also have a friend coming with me on a future trip. But if you guys have any questions at all about this trip, again, this was the Japan, Tokyo, and beyond, and you see 3 major cities, stop in 2 other cities. So it was about a 9-day trip. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out. And also, again, if you want to get $100 off your first trip, feel free to use the link down below. I am an ambassador with them, but went on 3 trips on my own before I ever became an ambassador. I'm just like so thankful that I even found this company, because it's like allowed me to travel and do so many of the things that I always dreamed of doing, just because of how easy they make it to travel with them. So yes, I highly recommend it. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye guys.